Welcome to Knicks.com. I'm here with assistant coach Kurt Rambis. And Kurt, before we get into the matchup against the Magic, Phil spoke to the media yesterday and talked about how he was pleased with actually the progress of the team. And from a coaching perspective, how do you sort of manage your players in terms of, telling them the positive things that are happening, even though they're not necessarily seeing the wins in the final box?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Players want to see that, that positive aspect of the reward of wins, and sometimes when you're losing, the amount of games that we're losing, they don't see all the other good things that they're doing out there on the court. And we have moments at both ends when we're doing exactly what we're supposed to do and we're having a tremendous amount of success, and then we also have moments when it just looks like we're confused and baffled out there. So we're working on them extending those times when they're playing well and they're functioning together out there on the court. But we're not kidding ourselves. We knew in the very beginning, regardless of what 10 guys were playing, whoever they are, it was going to be a process. It was going to take some time. And we're working with guys to improve their skill sets, what they can do to help their team and their teammates as well as themselves play better within our system. Again, at both ends, offensively and defensively, how we can get better. And as we continue to build individuals, we work on the team collectively, working together. And we know that it's going to come into place. It's all going to fall into place at some point in time. And we just want the guys to stay positive. A lot of things that we do is we show them on tape things that they do really well and see how easy it is, see the open shots that are created. So, sometimes when a guy comes down, he's taken a wide open shot, but there's also two other teammates that were wide open if he chose to pass the basketball. So it's there. And the same thing at the defensive end. Guys are in the right spots, they're doing the right things. You can hear the communication on tape. Everything gets done. We get highly contested shots, missed shot, rebound, and we're off and running. But then there's moments when we don't function well offensively. It either leads to a bad shot, a turnover, and same thing at the defensive end when guys aren't in their spots. Guys are getting wide open shots or layups. So we're just educating them and continuing to help them grow.
Some inside information I'd like to know about. We see you working, among the many other things that you do, but some of the things that we see you working with the bigs, Jason Smith, Amari just now here on the practice floor. What is that process like when you're working with them, specifically the big guys there in the post?
Well, anything that we can do as coaches to enhance the skill sets of all of our players, the better off we're going to be as coaches, because then we can do more things with the players, the more versatility that they're going to have out there on the floor. And we also see, based on how teams play them, there might be deficiencies in their game. So we work on eliminating those deficiencies so they can become a more complete ball player. And sometimes it's just as simple as working on their offhand, on dribbling or passing the basketball, or shots, defense. There's a myriad of things that we can go through with each individual to help them improve their skill set. And that's part of the building process that you go through with the team. That as the players grow and they develop and they become more versatile, the better your team becomes.
All right, let's shift our attention to the Orlando Magic, the next opponent on the docket. This Orlando team, very young, talented, have a lot of interesting pieces there. How do you see this team? Any differences from the previous season?
Well, they've got a lot of offensive-oriented players out there on the floor, and they do a great job of penetrating and scoring in the paint. So we've got to do a good job in our transition defense as well as our half-court defense at stopping them from getting inside. A lot of it is driving opportunities. A lot of it is post-ups. Some of it is offensive rebounds. So we've got to be, very well focused on stopping their ability to score inside. But keeping that in mind, they also have some guys that can really shoot the basketball. Peyton, their point guard, is more of a driver, a facilitator, and he's looking to pass the ball as a rookie. But Vucevic, their center, can play with his back to the basket, and he can also step out and knock down 18, 20-foot shots. Fournier, who starts at the small off-guard position for them, he does a good job at not only knocking down shots, but creating shots on his own. Tobias Harris does a good job at their 3 spot and 4 spot when he's playing there to be able to run the floor, create opportunities off the dribble, attack the basket. And then, one of the players that's problematic for a lot of teams in the league is Channing Frye. He plays a 4 spot, and at 6'10", 6'11", he knocks down outside shots. And because of how he shoots it so quickly, if you're not literally standing right in front of him, he's going to be able to get his shot off. So that combination of players that can put it on the floor, attack the basket, bigs that can open up the floor and space away from the hoop, as well as outside shooting, puts a lot of pressure on defenses. So we're going to have to be on point defensively if we expect to get a win tomorrow night. Always
the case, and Oladipo not in this one. But what do you think of Aaron Gordon, the kid out of Arizona? Very active, big, can run the floor. What do you think of him so far?
He does a great job. He's very confident out there. His versatility at the defensive end is something that you can see they're trying to enhance. Guarding multiple positions, they'll put him in switching opportunities. He runs the floor really well, extremely athletic, so he's looking to always come from the weak side and block shots. But also when he gets out offensively, you can see he's working on his shot, but it takes him a while to wind up, and he kind of sits on his three-point shot. But that's going to come, and he's going to be, an extremely dangerous ball player because he's going to be able to have an impact at the offensive end, but more importantly at the defensive end and running the floor.
Okay, finally, just on the Knicks side, what do you think of the starting lineup with kind of a 3-guard front, surrounding Melo with 3 guards and 1 big?
Well, it's something we've talked about for a while, and we're still learning as a coaching staff, particularly when we have guys that are injured. We're looking to find ways to put good units out there on the floor, and we got to have a good combination of guys that can work together offensively as well as protect the basket defensively. It's you always want as a coach to have a nice healthy unit so that you can get those units to grow together and learn how to play with each other, and once they connect out there on the court, and that's all the better. But you start throwing injuries into that mix, and now you got different guys playing with different teammates, and it becomes more problematic. So, it's something at Carmelo at the 4 spot and going a little bit smaller we've toyed with for a while, but it may not be the end-all solution for us, but it's something that we see at times, certain games, certain matchups would be very beneficial to us.
It's always an adjustment, and I love sitting here and learning some new things about basketball. I have about 50 more questions. We got to let you go. Thank you so much for your time.
You did say you were going to keep it short. That was extremely long.
Well, you have too much information.
That's my fault. I talk too much. My bad.
No, it's always great. Our fans really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Kurt.
My pleasure. Thank you.